After 23 years, I finally got the chance to visit my country's capital this past summer. One day wasn't enough, but I was very lucky to get to see one place in particular, the Smithsonian Museum of American History. I was so enthralled with how just one building could break down our nation's complex history with so many different exhibits spread across all 3 floors. But among these exhibits, there were 10 in particular that caught my attention, shedding light on one of the many layers of American history I've always been so interested in. But before we begin, I cannot recommend enough that if you get the chance to go to DC, go to the Smithsonian, among other places I discuss in a future video. I also can't recommend enough that you subscribe to my channel to gain access to a library full of video essays on the many facets of our complex world and culture. Coming in at number 10, we have The Price of Freedom, Americans at War. I'm starting with this exhibit because none of the other things discussed within the rest of the museum would even matter if it weren't for the brave men and women who gave life and limb in our armed forces. Quite fittingly, this exhibit opened on Veterans Day in 2004. So much of America's history is owed to its armed forces, from the Revolutionary War to both World Wars, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, and many others. In this Smithsonian exhibit, located in the Armed Forces History Hall on the 3rd floor, over 800 artifacts, images, and interactive stations help visitors learn how wars defined American history from the colonial era to the present day. In viewing this exhibit, you'll learn how Americans have fought to establish the nation's independence, determine its borders, shape its values of freedom and opportunity, and define its role in world affairs. The exhibit also explores the social impact of America's wars, presenting the link between military conflict and American political leadership, social values, technical innovation, and personal sacrifice. Entry number 9 is The American Presidency, A Glorious Burden. This next entry is all about one of the most important people in America, if not the world, the President of the United States. In the views into the collection gallery on the 3rd floor, find nearly 1,000 objects related to the 46 men who have had both the honor and the responsibility of holding America's highest office. Composed of 11 thematic sections, the exhibit addresses such topics as inaugural celebrations, presidential roles, life at the White House, limits of presidential power, assassinations and mourning, the influence of the media, and life after the presidency. Notable items found in this part of the museum include Abraham Lincoln's life mask, FDR's World War II microphone, an early teddy bear named after Theodore Roosevelt, and Bill Clinton's saxophone, among others. Number 8 is a rather unique exhibit entitled Muppets Take American History. The Muppets took the world by storm when Jim Henson created them in the 1970s, and they became even more famous when Disney bought them out in the 2000s. So of course something this impactful gets an exhibit in the National Museum of American History. But unlike most exhibits, Muppets Take American History isn't fixed in just one part of the museum. These beloved felt puppets randomly appear in pop-up displays within other popular exhibits in the Smithsonian. But random might not be the right word, as each Muppet has some kind of connection to the exhibit they're appearing within. For example, Sesame Street's Count Von Count appears in the Value of Money exhibit, and Uncle Traveling Matt from Fraggle Rock appears in America on the Move, both of which have made it onto this list. The overall impact of Muppets Take American History is that it juxtaposes American history with cute, infamous childhood characters. Number 7 is Giving in America. As a social justice person, I've always enjoyed doing community service work, volunteering at food banks, homeless shelters, and ASP trips. So of course I was intrigued by the Smithsonian exhibit dedicated to the importance of charity and philanthropy work in American history. Fittingly, the exhibit actually opened on November 29th, which was Giving Tuesday in the United States. This exhibit touches on 4 major themes: who gives, why do we give, what do we give, and how do we give. These are all very important things to think about when it comes to giving and helping others. In one section of this exhibit, there's a new topic highlighted every year. Artifacts in this exhibit range from an alms box from the 1800s to a bucket used during the 2014-2015 ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which went viral on social media. Number 6 is a new exhibit entitled Entertainment Nation. When I actually went to the Smithsonian this past summer, I saw this exhibit being advertised, and it looked like one I'd eventually want to see. In doing my research for this video, what I've caught a glimpse of looks pretty amazing now that it's been up since December 9th, 2022. In this exhibit, you can find all kinds of objects related to music, sports, movies, and TV. Through the objects and their stories, the exhibit explores how, for more than 150 years, entertainment has provided a forum for important national conversations about who we are and who we want to be. I hope to go back to the Smithsonian sometime before I die and check out this exhibit and more in full. Going off of music and entertainment, number 5 is Music Herstory, Women and Music of Social Change. There are many exhibits relating to music all throughout the Smithsonian Museum of American History, but I especially like this one since it's all about the role of women in American music. From our earliest musical encounters to the formation of complex social identities, the American musical landscape would not be what it is today without the countless contributions of women changemakers, groundbreakers, and tradition bearers. This exhibit puts in the spotlight women who've revolutionized music, such as Ella Jenkins, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Lucy McKim Garrison, and Dolly Parton. This exhibit doesn't forget to address how country music has empowered working-class women in America, despite the industry's male domination and association with political conservatism. To learn about 10 of my favorite examples of this, check out my video, Top 10 Feminist Country Songs, which I've included a link to both in the description and on your end screen. Continuing on this music and sound theme, the number 4 entry is America's Listening. Hence its name, this exhibit is all about the importance of sound and sound streaming devices in American history. This involves everything from music to phone calls to spoken communication. The exhibit begins in the Ray Dolby Gateway to Culture and sheds light on 5 of the innovations that contributed to how we consume music and movies today. Artifacts on view include Thomas Edison's phonograph, Alexander Graham Bell's gramophone, Emil Berliner's gramophone, Ray Dolby's noise reduction system, and Apple's iPod. An interactive station allows visitors to hear examples of recorded sound from each of the featured technologies. Number 3 is a big one, America on the Move. This quintessential part of the Smithsonian Museum of American History has been there since November 2003 and isn't going away anytime soon. Ironic for an exhibit that's all about the concept of getting from one place to another. Specifically, America on the Move is all about how transportation from 1876 to 1999 has shaped our American identity from a mostly rural nation into a major economic power, forged a sense of national unity, delivered consumer abundance, and encouraged a degree of social and economic mobility unlike that of any other nation of the world. Arranged chronologically and through 19 sections, historical moments explored include the coming of the railroad to a California town in 1876, the role of the streetcar and the automobile in creating suburbs outside of cities, and the transformation of a U.S. port with the introduction of a containerized shipping in the 1960s. All artifacts on display played an important role in the United States transportation industry, including Jupiter, a steam-powered locomotive built in 1876 for the Santa Cruz Railroad, the 1903 Winton, the first car driven across the U.S. by H. Nelson Jackson and Sewell Crocker, with Bud the dog as a passenger, the 1926 Ford Model T Roadster, the 1942 Harley-Davidson motorcycle, and a piece of U.S. Route 66, the People's Highway that connects Chicago to Los Angeles. Our runner-up is First Ladies. This was the exhibit that inspired my video essay, Significance of America's First Ladies, which I've included a link to in the description and on your end screen, so you can check it out if you haven't already. Fittingly, you enter this exhibit when you exit the exhibit about the American presidency. As I mentioned in my video on the First Ladies, they've played a pretty important role in America's history and in presidential administrations, despite the fact that they hold no political power whatsoever. That's what this Smithsonian exhibit is all about. The exhibition features more than 24 gowns from the Smithsonian's almost 100-year-old First Ladies collection, including those worn by Frances Cleveland, Lou Hoover, Jacqueline Kennedy, Laura Bush, and Michelle Obama. A section titled Changing Times, Changing First Ladies highlights the roles played by Dolly Madison, Mary Lincoln, Edith Roosevelt, and Lady Bird Johnson, and their contributions to their husbands' administrations. The First Ladies exhibit encourages visitors to consider the changing role played by the First Lady and American women in general over the past 200 years. With so many amazing exhibits at the Smithsonian Museum of American History, it was hard to pick just 10. But after I did, I'd still like to give a shout out to 4 exhibits in particular that were seriously considered but didn't quite make the cut. More doctors smoke camels, inventing in America, the value of money, and food transforming the American table. And finally, my #1 favorite thing I saw at the Smithsonian Museum of American History, girlhood, it's complicated. As an American woman who went to an all-girls school, this exhibit was my favorite, as I felt it spoke to my experience and those of girls all across America. Hence its name. Being a girl in America is a very complicated experience, and of course, it varies from girl to girl. I was very saddened to hear that the exhibit had been discontinued, but was glad to have gotten to see it at least once. As of right now, it's actually on a traveling exhibition. All throughout American history, from Helen Keller to Naomi Wadler, girls have spoken up, challenged expectations, and been on the front lines of social change. Through their lives, what it means to be a girl and a woman has always been part of the American conversation. With a design inspired by zines, the 5,000 square foot gallery has 5 story sections: education, being schooled, wellness, body talk, work, hey, where's my girlhood, fashion, girls remix, plus 7 biographical interactive stories, a girl's life. The design features custom murals and illustrations by artist Crystal Quiles. In my social issue essay on period stigma, I cited the wellness part of this exhibit, which shed light on the period education videos many generations of American girls have been made to watch at school around the time they reach puberty. If you want to see this video, click the link to it in the description or on your end screen. Thank you all so much for watching. Touring the Smithsonian Museum of American History really was an intriguing learning experience for me, and I'm really glad I got to do it. I'm sure there's even more to see at the Smithsonian Museums of Natural History, African American History, and American Indian History. If and when I get the chance to visit those places, those will be getting lists of their own. Those of you who've been to the Smithsonian Museum of American History, sound off in the comments about whether or not you agree with my picks and which exhibits were your favorites. Those of you who haven't, I hope this video was a good little sort of movie trailer in case you've been wanting to go to this museum, as you should if you ever get the chance. If this was your first time here at my channel, I can assure you that if you liked this video, you'll love all the other content I've posted, some of which I've included links to up on your screen. If you want to see more, which I hope you do, click on one of those to see what I have to offer here at From Laura's Perspective. There's a lot more where that came from, so subscribe to my channel and tap the bell so you always know when something new has just come out.